And we are live, I think. Hi, everybody. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Sylvia, a general practitioner and health educator with AskAwayHealth. I think it has been nearly 3 weeks since my last live stream because I've been away on holiday and then I was not very well. And then we've started our sets, our medical student teaching sessions for the year. So it looks like some of our live streams might either have to be rescheduled, but I will do my best, as much as I can, do my best to come back to you guys. I love these streams. I always love the opportunity to talk to you guys, to do one-on-one, because we can't do it all in the comment section. So thank you so much for joining. If you're just joining for the first time, welcome. Where are you watching from? What have you had for lunch? I have missed lunch. I had a good breakfast. It was a nice omelette, but I've missed lunch. So where are you watching from? What time is it? And what are you guys having for breakfast, lunch, or supper, whichever it is? But thank you. We are supposed to be talking about questions you've asked about Plan B. Plan B is by far one of the most common topics I get asked about on this channel. And I think it's really good that women, and really both men and women, are actually interested in how this medicine works, because I think for quite a long time, for a number of years, there's been a bit of uncertainty about how to use it, its effect, if it works, and so on. So I'm always happy to clarify as much as I can. And I've got a few questions that have come into the channel recently, which I'm going to share with you. We're going to sort of break them down together and hopefully just educate ourselves about the birth control method Plan B. But just to put a bit of background, just to give a bit of background to it, Plan B, of course, is the emergency contraceptive method that contains progesterone. Of course, is also known as the morning after pill. And it contains progesterone, like I said, and the particular progesterone that you've got in it is known as levonorgestrel. And you can find the same levonorgestrel in different brands and different preparations across the world. Some places, for example, in the UK where I practice, we've got Levonel or Levonel. In other parts of the world, you've got Postinor, Postinor 2, you've got Plan B, Take Action, My Way, and all sorts. They contain the same progesterone, levonorgestrel. So really, as I discussed Plan B today, everything I'm going to say applies to those other medicines that contain levonorgestrel, the hormone levonorgestrel. So it's a hormone-based form of emergency birth control, which is when you have to take or use a method because you don't have a regular birth control method. So after unprotected sexual interaction or sexual intercourse, you don't have a regular method, you're at risk of getting pregnant. Plan B is one of the ones that are commonly reached for. How does it work? Principally by delaying ovulation. Ovulation is the process where a woman develops and then releases a mature egg from one of her ovaries every month. And what levonorgestrel or Plan B does is to delay this from happening for a set period, usually about 5 days, because the target is that if a woman has taken this hormone at a particular point when she's just had intercourse, the semen from that episode of intercourse would live usually between 3 to 5 days. So ovulation is delayed by the pill for about 5 days until all the sperm from that particular interaction have all died and gone away, and then ovulation happens. So please be aware that if you use Plan B once or at a time in your cycle, and then ovulation has been delayed, it is possible, if you have sex 5 or 6 days later or later on in that cycle without protection, ovulation then happens and you could get caught and fall pregnant. One of the interesting things about birth control method. So there is that. However, Plan B also works by affecting the mucus in the cervix, the cervical mucus, making it a bit thicker, and so creating difficulty for the sperm to travel towards the egg and meet the egg to fertilize. So to a little extent, it can do that. It's progesterone, it can do that. And another thing that it might be able to do is to affect the womb lining, make it thinner, so that it is less able or robust to hold a fertilized egg. So theoretically, there are different ways that Plan B could achieve this purpose of preventing pregnancy. the principal one, the main one that most scientists, doctors, researchers agree on is this bit of delaying ovulation. Some authorities think it also prevents implantation. It also prevents fertilization. So those are the sort of three-pronged ways in which the pill works. Now, like I said, I've got a few questions and I would like us to go into them because I think discussing them helps us to look more at the nature of Plan B. And if you're somebody who's had to use it before, needs to use it, then you're familiar with what it is and how to go about it. So give me a second while I bring up the first question and share my screen with you. Let's see. Have I got number one? I've tried to help myself by numbering them, so hopefully this works. Okay, so let's see. I honestly I'm not sure what you guys are seeing now, really. I hope you can see. Oh no, that's gone off. Okay, let's try again. We'll get it right this time. Is it that one? I think it's that one. Okay, so hopefully, okay, so, oh, well, number two. Why are we on number two? Oh, come on. Can we go for number one? No, that's still number two. I'll get this right eventually. Let's see. No, we don't want that one. We want number one. It doesn't really matter, actually. I can start with anyone, but I think if it's well numbered, then I'm unlikely to forget it. So let me just get them all out properly. So please, if you're on the stream, share with somebody, somebody who might find this useful, who might find this interesting to watch with us. Do you know, I think I probably managed to close a couple of the windows. It's not very clever. Okay. See. I get the feeling I've been muted. What a day. I get the feeling I've been muted. So if I haven't really been saying too much, I've just been trying to sort out so you haven't missed much. I've just been trying to sort out my questions. So you haven't missed anything. What a day for tech drama. But yeah, I think I'm back on. I think I'm unmuted. So let me see if I can load the first question again. And hopefully, okay. So the first question is here. So let me read it out, guys. We're talking about Plan B. We're dealing with Plan B questions. I was saying while I was muted, if you come on the stream, please share it because somebody might need to have this information. But here's the first question. It says, I ovulated a day or two before taking Plan B. I ovulated a day or two before taking Plan B. I started a very light pinkish spotting 7 or 8 days later. It was only once in the morning when I wiped. Then it skipped a day and I noticed it again in the morning when I wiped. It skipped another day and I noticed it again that morning and then again that night with it being slightly heavier when I wiped. I thought my period was going to come the next day, but it stopped completely, stopped again. So I took a pregnancy test, but it was negative. Is this normal from taking Plan B? I'm currently, I think that bit's cut off, but it was, I think it was that she's 13 or 14 day past her ovulation. So this is a really good question. And I hope you guys can see it clearly when we're doing the replay. This is a really good question about what happens to the period after taking Plan B or experiencing some bleeding, spotting, discharge, whichever you want to call it, after Plan B, because hers started about a week or so after she'd taken it. Remember, she had ovulated a day or two before taking plan B. So she'd already gone past her ovulation. So if you think about our definition, remember our definition of how it works. It's supposed to delay ovulation, but she's ovulated. But if she's ovulated a day or two, then possibly the egg may have disintegrated, because don't forget that the egg doesn't survive more than 24 to 48 hours. So if her body and her cycle follows standard method of behavior, if it follows the standard way of behavior, let me just see if I can bring this back on. So if her body follows the standard way of behaving, really, she should be at a very, very low risk of getting pregnant, because she had unprotected sex after she'd ovulated, when the egg probably had died. But please don't take those chances, because a lot of the time the body is not going to behave in the standard way it should behave. You don't want to get caught out. So the best thing is to still take that precaution. So I think it's reasonable for her to take the plan B. And again, it should be taken as soon as possible after sexual intercourse. It's thought to be most effective within the first 72 hours after unprotected sex. So then she now starts having, by the first week or the first 7 or 8 days, she starts having some light spotting episodes. She cleans and she finds something is not very heavy. The next day it's not there. And this happens for 2 or 3 days. And then she also has some sort of sensation, like a cramp, that makes her feel, oh, is it my period about to come? But then nothing appears. So, and then she's done a pregnancy test. In fact, she's given us a lot of information, which is really good, because the next thing I'll be saying to her is, well, I can't really say much about this, do a pregnancy test. But she's done a pregnancy test and it's negative. So I think in all likelihood, she's not pregnant. But this bleeding that she's experienced could be either one of two things. She's not pregnant, so let's remove implantation bleeding from the equation. Okay, she's not pregnant, is not implantation bleeding. What else could it be? Remember that what plan B potentially can do after you take it, right, is, one, it might delay your period. We've tried to study this in research. We've tried to analyze this and try to see if there's a clear pattern. The researchers don't agree. So I can't sit here and tell you that when you take it in the month might affect whether your period is going to be delayed or early. We don't have any conclusive data yet. But we know that in some ladies, plan B can delay the period. In another group of ladies, plan B can make the period come earlier. Okay? Third, nothing. It does nothing. You've taken plan B, your period just comes the same time as expected. That's number 3 possibility, nothing. And fourth, you may have bleeding unrelated to your cycle. That's a side effect of the hormones. So these are possible effects of plan B. So we have to sort of weigh and think, well, what could be going on here? This is not heavy bleeding, it's light bleeding, doesn't feel like a period, because you could argue that could this be an early period, or could it be plan B side effects? I tend to fall for the latter and think it might be plan B side effect, because it doesn't have the length of a period, and being sustained the way a period could be. But of course, we all have different types of periods, so it can vary. I think what's important here in terms of what is going on is that she shouldn't be alarmed. There's nothing to be alarmed about. She's established that she's not pregnant. It is possible that all she's getting is just a little bit of the effect of the progesterone that she's taking, the effect on the womb lining. That's possible. Now, the effect of the pill of plan B could also be to bring her next period forward or to delay her next period. To be honest with you, unless we know what happens later on in her cycle, we can't tell. It's actually tough to tell what the situation is. So that is how I would answer that particular question. So let us bring up question number 2. I've done number 1, so I'm going to get rid of it so I don't confuse myself, but I've done number 1. So we're going to see if we can bring up question number 2 and tackle that. So where is number 2 here? I'm not seeing number 2. Why am I not seeing number 2? Oh, goodness me. It is here. That's 2. I'm going to make sure I don't delete it. Oh, okay. Oh, fantastic. So that's question number 2. You can see me on the corner, and that's question number 2. Okay, so we're talking about plan B. If you're just joining, thank you for joining. Hi, where are you joining from? Let me know. Do you have any questions around plan B? We're just looking at a few questions that I've come across recently about plan B. But thank you so much for joining. If you find this video useful and you think anyone might also benefit from it, please feel free to share the link, share it with somebody, let them know what we're doing. And of course, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Now, we've done question number 1. We're doing question number 2, which says, if you had unprotected sex and he ejaculated on ovulation day, how long does it take for sperm to get to the egg? And then you take the plan B 12 hours later. Does it stop fertilization or is it too late? This is very technical. You can see a lot of thought has gone into this. The sperm are very, very fast. Okay, I can tell you that for free. That normal sperm move very, very quickly. I don't have any figures in terms of specific number of minutes or hours because all this depends really. On the day of ovulation, there is no set, except you're in the laboratory, except you are studying a woman in the laboratory, there is no set time that you can say that moment when the egg is released and begins to journey down from the ovary through the fallopian tube, begins to journey down into the womb. Because it could be at that point when they're having intercourse. It might be. And then the sperm can travel. What they do is as soon as ejaculation happens, the sperm pass in through the vagina, up into the body of the womb, past the cervix, up, and they travel. They swim into the fallopian tube, meet the egg as it's journeying down. And that's where fertilization could happen. In some instances, a woman has ovulated. She hasn't had intercourse on that day. Maybe on the next day, as the egg has been journeying and it's within the body of the womb, then she has intercourse and then the sperm come in and meets the egg there. I don't think that's really the issue here. That's not really the issue. Remember at the beginning, I've established that we know of 3 potential ways that plan B works. I beg your pardon. And one of them, we've said the principal way is by delaying ovulation. So the critical thing here is about having unprotected sex on the day of your ovulation. So if you're fairly regular, if you've got a regular cycle, and you use a fertility app, well, you can use a fertility app, or you use one of those apps or calendars just to keep track of your period. And you can sort of tell the day that you're ovulating. Some girls can even tell because of mid-ovulation, mid-cycle pain, for example, or different symptoms, or even the nature of their discharge. It's possible. But if you sort of have an idea that you're ovulating and then it happens, you meet with your partner on that day, the best method that will work, that will pretty much guarantee that you don't fall pregnant, will be using the copper coil, the copper IUD. Okay, that can be fitted in up to 5 days after ovulation or 5 days after sex, whichever it is, and be effective, highly effective. So that's just by the way. We're not talking about the copper coil today. We're talking about plan B. I would still recommend that even though plan B may or may not be able to delay ovulation, depending on the time that you've taken it, because I said, even if you know the day of ovulation, you don't know the moment it happens. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen. So for plan B, if you take it well after ovulation has happened, or even within a couple of hours after the hormone surges, it may not work through that method. But I've said the other ways it could work are, it can make the cervical mucus thicker, making it difficult for the sperm to travel and making it difficult for fertilization to happen. Or it could make the womb itself, the lining of the womb, thinner, so that even if egg and sperm successfully fertilize, implantation is difficult. All these measures, we know that progesterone could potentially do this. To what extent, to what degree, we don't know. The key thing is I never, ever want anybody to think, oh, it's too late because it's not going to do anything. If plan B is the option that you've got, take it, because there's a good chance that it may have some effect, especially if it's within the first 72 hours after intercourse. After 72 hours, the chances are a lot slimmer. But if you've got 72 hours and you have ovulated, please don't worry your head thinking, oh, is it going to work or is it going to work? If it's what you've got, take it. The thing is, well, you're going to have to face, whatever the situation is, whatever the outcome is, but at least you can do your best to try and avoid it while you can. If you could get the copper coil, then go for it. If you can't, and you've got Ella is another contraceptive, morning after pill. That actually is more effective in terms of if you're so close to ovulation, you're on the day, and you take Ella, you're probably better protected than plan B. But if plan B is what you've got, please don't sit there thinking that, well, it happened on ovulation day. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. No, don't have that mindset. Go ahead and take it, because it's better than sitting and doing nothing. There are some chances that it might work to prevent fertilization or implantation. So that's how I'd respond to this. It could stop fertilization. It's progesterone. So it could. What I can't tell you confidently is to what extent it might do that, and therefore how successful it could be. But I think in terms of what option you have, that is a reasonable, never think that it's too late. If that's what you've got, make use of it. So that's question 2. And by the way, if I've not said thank you to my viewers who sent in this question, you guys, thank you so much. I love the interaction. As much as possible, I'll try to give direction and education. You know, we can't do consultation on YouTube, but we can at least provide some signposting and direction. So thank you so much for sending in these questions. Now let's go to question number 3, which hopefully where's question 3 now? Hang on. So let's get rid of 2 so we're not confused. Here's 3. Let's see, is that 3? Yes. So I'm going to share question 3 with you. Share. And hopefully, here we go. So this is question number 3. And we're talking about plan B. If you're just joining, thank you for joining. Leave a comment, say hi, wherever you're watching from. And please share the video with a friend. You think it might be helpful to have this information, to know about these things, please share. I get a lot of questions about this. I know that people need this information. Anyway, question number 3 says, my period is late. I took plan B a few days after my cycle went off on October 9th. When her cycle went off, that's an interesting way to put it. Does she mean her cycle started? She said, I took plan B a few days after my cycle went off on October 9th. Fast forwarding till today, I still haven't gotten my period. I have also taken 2 pregnancy tests and they both came back negative. Sweetheart, don't panic. Please don't. There's no need to stress. So there's no need to stress yourself out. And it's good. It's just good to plan and work out what you're doing. Going through this kind of stress every single time isn't worth it. So you need to work out what is it that you're wanting out of where you are in life. And in terms of your reproductive health, should you be thinking about regular birth control method instead of getting into these kind of scenarios where you're having to, sit anxiously, doing pregnancy test after pregnancy test, wondering if it's worked or not? Because the truth is, until the pregnancy test tells you, nobody can tell you if the pill has worked or not. There is nothing. It's not the type of bleeding or whether it's spotting or if your boobs are hurting or whether your tummy is cramping. That means nothing. That could be an effect of the pill. That could be your body just doing what it's doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're pregnant. It doesn't. What tells us whether the pill or not, whether the pill has worked or not, is that you're pregnant. Is the pregnancy test is positive or it is not positive? Okay. So I would say if it's an issue, if you think you would struggle, be very anxious and worrying about this over and over again, are you in the right place for having sexual relations at that time? And if you feel you're in the right place, but you're not ready, then should you be having a regular method is what I'd be suggesting to you. But let's answer the question. It might be that the pill has delayed her period. It's as simple as that. Her 2 pregnancy tests are negative, and if we go by that, she's not pregnant. And so it is not unusual that her period is delayed. It's not. It's part of what we expect with plan B. Now, you probably want to know, so how long could the period be delayed by? And it varies from one woman to another. It varies. But some people have had their periods delayed by over 3-4 weeks, going into the next month. The other thing you have to think about as well is some of us girls will take plan B maybe because we've forgotten our regular method. If we're on the regular pill, we forgot it for a couple of days, then something happened, and then we take plan B, then we go to the regular method. That can affect your period pattern. Other things can also affect your period pattern. Stress, diet, exercise, different things can affect your period pattern and when it comes back. But in this instance, I think what is most important is that she's established with the pregnancy test that she's not pregnant. So what she needs to look out for is, when will the next period come? We should give it a couple of weeks. I don't think there's any need to panic unless she's having any other symptom. Any other symptom? Okay, so pain in the lower abdomen or the pelvis on one side or on the other side, sharp pain. If she's getting an abnormal discharge that's offensive or smelly, feeling ill with fever or any of those things, because sexually transmitted infections could also mess about our cycle, our periods. And if that is going on at the same time, that might be the reason the period is delayed or that it's not showing up when it should be. And having those extra symptoms mean that you need to be speaking to your doctor. You need to be seen. You might need to have swabs done. It's important. So question number 3. Thank you again for my viewer who sent us this question. Very much appreciated. And I hope everyone who's watching is finding it useful. Oh, guys, let me use this break just before I go on to the next question to say I've introduced the mother to daughter series. Let me just talk a little bit about, I promise just 1 minute to talk about this. So as you know, because I say it in quite a few of my videos, I've got a lovely 11-year-old daughter, and puberty and periods are things that we're talking about a lot at home. And of course, they're doing it in school. And I think it's really important for us parents, moms or dads, to be clear and to have open discussions with our girls about their bodies, their reproductive health, and help to clarify a lot of these things. You guys might remember, I think it was in a live stream a few months ago when I addressed some of the really crazy, strange things that people think about women's bodies. It's worth a watch, actually. And it was thanks to a tweet from, I can't remember their name, but it was a tweet that just went viral. And the responses were amazing, where people were saying how they dated guys who thought that they could control their periods the way they could go to pass urine. There were some really, really strange ideas. And then some other girls came and said, well, they had some experiences about their periods and nobody ever told them what it meant. Really, 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 some of those things are a bit heartbreaking. And I thought it was good to explore them. But just because I'm experiencing it now and having to explain things, I think there might be some moms or dads like me. I'm a doctor, yes. So of course I'm able to explain, but to do that personally, to give that personal touch to my little girl so that she's comfortable and confident about the changes going on in her body, the awareness, the knowledge of, what the ovaries are doing, if it's age appropriate, sex education as well, being open about these things and sort of giving them the power to own and understand their own bodies and gain, benefit from that knowledge. That's the reason for the series. So guys, mother to daughter, look out for it if you're in that category. It's a lovely playlist. I'm developing it as much as I can. I did an intro video, I think it was maybe the week before last. So go and have a look at it, and I will put the link for that in the description box for this play stream. So for this live stream, where are we? I think we've done 3, haven't we? Losing the thread. Okay, so I think we're on question 4 now. So let's share that one. So question 4. So we're talking about plan B. If you're just joining, thank you. Welcome to the stream. Please share this video, like and subscribe to the channel, please. I would really appreciate it. We're talking about questions I'm getting asked by my viewers and subscribers about plan B. This is devoted to plan B. So question is, what will happen if you take plan B? Oh, I remember this one. What will happen if you take plan B while on your period? Will it be effective still? What does it mean when I experience cramping similar to my period? Do you know, this is a good one, because again, I've got a video about the possibility of pregnancy during your period, so during your period, meaning from the first day of the period to the last day, so where you're having bleeding. Okay, now, when you're having your period is obviously different to the time that you are ovulating, because for a woman with a regular cycle, remember the calculation. The calculation usually is that day 1 of the cycle is the first day of your period, and then most periods may take from 3 to 5 days or a bit longer. And then, excuse me, the next event that happens mid-cycle is when ovulation is expected. So there are events on different aspects of this calendar. So technically or theoretically, you should not be ovulating while you're on your periods. But guess what? This is not how the body behaves sometimes. Not in everybody, but you don't want to take that chance. And you don't want to assume that, well, it's completely safe while I'm on my period. There's nothing like that. Always behave as if there's a potential, because that potential is very, very small, but then it happens and, you're not prepared for it. It lands you in a bit of difficulty. So generally, while you're on your period, the chances of pregnancy are very, 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 very low. Yes, we know that. Okay, so if you take Plan B just as a precaution, which I think is sensible, I think it's reasonable, if you're having unprotected sexual intercourse, because remember, let's look at it this way. Assuming she had unprotected intercourse on the last day of her period, when virtually she's stopped bleeding, and maybe she's one of those people that has a short cycle, and then she's going to ovulate into the next week. How long are the sperm going to stay alive? 5 days. So it's possible that they did it that day, and then the sperm remain. And if she's one of those people whose ovulation comes in early, she could get caught. So that's why I said it's sensible to take the pill, even though we say theoretically the risk of falling pregnant during the period is low. So it's all these funny things that you can't sort of, put 100% certainty of, that you need to cover yourself for. What will happen? It's not going to affect ovulation. You're not ovulating at that point while you're on your period. Will it be effective still? Well, so if you haven't ovulated, so you're not going to fall pregnant anyway. So there's no question about it being effective, in the sense that all that might happen at that point is the effect of the extra progesterone on different parts of the womb. It might cause an abnormal, it might cause some change to when the next period comes. It might cause a little bit of extra production of tissue from the womb lining, and that might be why she's having the extra cramping. All this is, it may, all of this is depending on the fact that she's not taking any other hormones or medication. She's also not pregnant. She's done tests. She's not pregnant. She said that she was on her period. So all these are just supposing. We're estimating. We're guesstimating. Just giving the information that she's had. And again, I do encourage my viewers, when they have these kind of questions and it's quite specific to them, I take it off YouTube, because we can't really do much in the comment section. And I want to be clear that what I'm providing to you is some education, and that if there are symptoms that you feel unwell with them, or it needs further or more detailed assessment, you need to see a doctor in the same location where you are, who has your medical background. Please, let's always bear that in mind, that this is a great tool for sharing evidence-based health education and information. So that is the way I'd respond to our question number 4. Thank you so much to the viewer who sent this question in to me. Okay, so we're nearly done. I'm just going to quickly take a look, because I shared a poll. Well, I was just checking with people what they wanted to know about Plan B on the community page. Oh, I've got a couple of people. Okay, so a couple of people answered. Some people said they want to know how it works, and some people said they want to know about the side effects. Okay, we'll touch on the side effects just before we finish, and then with that, hopefully we can round up. I've got a couple more questions. Before I do that, let's just deal with a couple more questions from for my viewers, and then we can look at side effects. So we just did number 4, didn't we? So let's look at number 5. And okay, you guys can answer this, I bet, because this is similar to what we've touched. I had a period a week after I took Plan B. But this month I'm 8 days late. Is that normal? Oh, right. This is a bit different. Now, what is funny about this question? Not funny in a bad way, just in terms of not enough information available. I had a period a week after I took Plan B. Okay, so we don't know how long that bleed was. She says it was a period. Fine, let's accept her word for it. She says, but this month I'm 8 days late. Is that normal? So, so many questions I have to ask here. Has she done a pregnancy test? Is she on any other form of medication, including any other birth control method? What's her usual period pattern like? Does she sometimes get, period, okay, a regular period for a couple of months, then after 1 month, it's a bit off, and so on and so forth. So many questions to ask here. But given the little that we have to work with, is this unusual? So the question really is that, is it possible that you could have an effect of Plan B going into the next month? So you took it in October, okay, and you saw a bleed 7 days after you took it in October, and then in November, when you're expecting your period, it doesn't turn up, it's late. Yes, it's possible. It's possible. Okay. But back to the questions I said I would love to ask her. Has she done a pregnancy test? Okay. Has she had sex again since the time in October when she had the pill, the plan B? So still a few questions to ask before you can establish with any certainty what is going on. But if it's, oh, is it possible for plan B to do this in the absence of every other concern? Yes, it's possible. Generally, its effect should be on delaying the next period related to the month when you took it. But I'm familiar with some cases where the periods are irregular. So there's a bit of a delay for the second month after taking the plan B. But again, remember that what happens with our periods, and we ladies, because they're so hormone dependent. So please, it's important to remember that stress, your diet, exercise, even ill health can affect your hormones and therefore can affect your period. So that in combination with when you took the plan B could be some of what this young lady is experiencing. But my answer to this would be, yep, we need a lot more information. There's no way I can say whether or not. I know that's not reassuring to hear, but it's completely unethical for me to say yes or no to somebody who I don't know, apart from a few four-line sentence in the YouTube comments. So I value the interaction. I'm glad that she wants to learn, which is great. But I would encourage her to, of course, look at seeing her own doctor if she can, if she's, this is worrying her and she's concerned that this delay is of some significance, or if there are other symptoms, or if you wanted to really break it down a bit more with me, then you can use the link to my email health information service, and then we can take a lot more detail. We can look at what's going on. Right, so we will look at question, where's it gone? We're going to look at question number 5. Oh no, question number 6, I beg your pardon, we just did 5. So question number 6, I'm just sharing that with you. So this question says, let me have a drink, guys. I feel a bit parched. Okay, so this is another interesting one, so here we go. If I had sex on the 3rd day, okay, this is another period one, isn't it? If I had sex on the 3rd day of my period and my partner ejaculated inside me, will I still be safe from pregnancy if I took plan B immediately after unprotected sex? I think that's the most sensible thing that you can do, is just take the plan B immediately after unprotected sex. I have spoken to the point of wearing you guys out potential of periods, pregnancy with period sex. If it's something that you are involved in, if it's something that happens, you need to think you could get pregnant. I think that's old wives' tale that, oh, you can't get pregnant during your periods. I would really prefer that we don't take it as a rule, because some people can get caught, and not everyone, of course, not everyone, but you don't want to be the one. You don't want to be the one that it happens to. And like I said, excuse me, some ladies may have periods, their cycles that are short. So having had a period, and some ladies might have long, it can be so interesting. If somebody has a lengthy period and then her cycle is short. So literally, as she completes the period, last bleeding day, perhaps ovulation happens within a few days' time. And if she's had intercourse on the last bleeding day, ovulation is going to happen a few days down the line. What if the sperm are still alive? Possible. Anyway, let's go back to this question. So day 3, she took the pill. Will she still be safe from pregnancy? She will be, if at all there was any chance that ovulation had happened from the other ovary, very unlikely, but potential, that one must always be careful about. If at all there was any chance that happened, if she's such a person that has a short cycle, so that if day 3 was her last day and she's about to ovulate a few days later, remember that her partner's sperm, will be alive for another 5 days. So that is why it is, it's right for her to take plan B at that point, so that her ovulation, which was going to happen and meet the sperm from her partner, is pushed back. So that is why that's why she will be safe, or she will at least be reasonably safe from taking Plan B at that point. So there's a lot of a lot of issues around period sex. A lot of people use that as a cover. Oh, I'm not going to get pregnant. Many people don't. They don't, because like I said, technically you wouldn't be ovulating at the same time as having your periods. But what complicates the matter is people who might have shorter cycles, or people who might ovulate, because sometimes there's some people that can ovulate from both ovaries. So and then these things can happen in your body for one reason or the other. The body is such a wonderful, wonderful piece of scientific work, really. So we don't know everything about how it works, and sometimes things can happen that we didn't expect or predict. So that's the answer to this particular question. You're as reasonably protected with Plan B because you took it as soon as possible. It will protect you as reasonably well as it would at any other time. Of course, it is not 100% effective, I will remind you. And if you're in this situation where you're trying to use period sex as your cover, I would recommend not doing that. Please sit down with your practitioner and think about an effective method of regular birth control that is suitable for you, suitable for your lifestyle, and take it from there. Okay, guys, wow, that's those are my 6 questions I wanted to share with us today that my viewers have been bringing into the channel. Somebody wanted to know about Plan B progesterone side effects. Thankfully, it's one of those medicines or drugs that you don't have really significantly troublesome side effects with. The more annoying ones that some girls might have: a bit of an upset tummy, feeling nauseous or feeling as if you are going to throw up, a bit of discomfort in the tummy. So an upset tummy might cause a little bit of diarrhea. Those are the sort of the more annoying symptoms, but they tend to settle. So if somebody came and said they had those symptoms after taking Plan B, I wouldn't be completely surprised it could happen. I think the most significant ones that we tend to be, that ladies who use Plan B tend to be quite worried about, are the ones that affect the period. And so I'm just going to repeat it again because somebody wanted to know. In terms of the bleeding side effects of Plan B, the possible scenarios are a delay to your next menstrual period, or bringing the next menstrual period forward a little bit, so making it come earlier, or no change at all, or an unrelated bleeding that could be spotting, a little bit of a discharge, a bit of light flow. That is simply the effect of progesterone on your womb lining. Okay, so these are some of the side effects. Some women could also have quite prolonged bleeding after the pill, not very commonly, but they could have prolonged bleeding after taking the pill. I do have not lots, but a few girls who say, oh, I used Plan B last month and I've been bleeding ever since. So it might have been that progesterone that they took sort of triggered some kind of heavy bleed from their period, and it does settle. The effect of the pill will settle, but those are some of the side effects that could happen. So I hope that's helped. Thank you so much to the person who selected that option as something that they wanted to learn more about. Guys, thank you so much for joining me this live stream. I'm glad to be back on the stream with you. Today we've covered Plan B. We've looked at some common questions that people are asking. Please keep sending the questions in. I will do my best to address them either directly in the comments section, or referring you to my email health service, or referring you back to your doctors, or we could address some of them in a video like this so that we all learn and we all sort of gain from the discussion and explanations. So thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful, safe weekend. I hope the weather wherever you are treats you well. But until the next time I come across the screen, stay well, everybody. Bye-bye.